The lack of preparation will move you and lead you to being in an urgent state. And so when we're prepared properly, we can foresee potential challenges. We foresee the best way to make decisions and to move forward. And we're actively preparing the team. We're preparing ourselves, and we're not just winging it. We're not just making decisions because they have to be made. And so lack of preparation will put you in a state of urgency that will kill your progress. Welcome to the It Matters podcast. I'm your host, Walter Perez, and let's dive in as we help you grow your mindset and elevate your leadership. Hey everybody, welcome back to the It Matters podcast. Thank you for joining me in another episode. I hope all of you are doing well and you're just feeling like you're getting better each week. And so, you know what? We've entered into the fall, and in many cases, all of us are feeling busy. There's a new routine up ahead, and we're feeling like there's so much that needs to get done. And so I hope that you're finding rest and you're finding clarity in the midst of all this, because it's important in the life of a leader to figure that out. And so I appreciate you joining me on another episode. If this is impacting you and if this is helping you out, can you share it? Can you let me know? Can you comment on it? I would love to hear from you, because this is it's an exciting time, and I do feel that I want to bring you some great material, some great thoughts and ideas to help you be better. And so today, I actually wanted to chat a little bit about this idea of the enemy of progress and what does that look like. Now, I'm very aware that there's probably a few different things that could play a role into this, but there's one idea, one thought that I wanted to bring forth, and this is that the enemy of progress is urgency. Now, how many of you have led from that posture where everything needs to be quick now, and it should have been done yesterday? We need to do this in the next little bit. Everything else needs to stop. Things need to get done now. And I think that can be the tendency of a leader sometimes when there's certain things that are not in line or prepared accordingly. And so I wanted to caution you on that, because urgency may seem like, hey, this is where I lead. This is where I really highlight myself and where I shine. But the reality is that you might actually be capping your organization. You might be capping your own leadership in the progress that could take place, the good type of progress that could take place, because you're being always in an urgent state of mind. Now, there is a time and place where urgency is good, where we have to activate in that sense. But overall, we got to be very careful that we're not always in that mode. Urgency can really kill progress. And I want to just to cover a few thoughts and pointers to get you to think, and you can kind of find yourself in that. From a personal level, as a leader, when you function on this level of urgency, you got to be careful, because you will end up making some poor decisions. You make some decisions that are not necessarily best for you or the best for the organization. What ends up happening is you're making decisions because a decision needs to be made. You need to actually make a move, and you got to move forward, and you got to figure it out whether it's a good or bad when you make decisions. And so urgency puts you in a posture of making poor decisions at times. And so we got to be aware of that and reflect on times in your past when you have been in this urgent posture and you're making decisions that weren't that great for yourself. Urgency will expose you and show you that you don't have the good preparation. The lack of preparation will move you and lead you to being in an urgent state. And so when we're prepared properly, we can foresee potential challenges. We foresee the best way to make decisions and to move forward. And we're actively preparing the team. We're preparing ourselves, and we're not just winging it. We're not just making decisions because they have to be made. And so lack of preparation will put you in a state of urgency that will kill your progress. Here's one other thought. How about you end up with low energy? You end up leading from this urgent state of going, well, I don't have the capacity, I don't have the energy to address this properly, so we're just going to function in this in this overwhelming phase of my life, in this overwhelming state of leadership, and you don't have the right energy to actually lead. And so in an urgent state, we're not always in a healthy posture. We're in a low energy, and we're in a state that is just surviving. And so we want to be careful about that. We also want to be we want to show that we're not always reactive. When we're in an urgent state, we're reacting to a situation, we're reacting to a circumstance, we're reacting to what's happening in this moment. And because of, not, as I mentioned already, not having proper preparation, it leads us to not being proactive in our leadership. And so being a proactive leader is somebody who's in a posture of seeing the things that are coming ahead, and foreseeing what may happen. So we're not always reacting, because when we react, we end up doing silly moves. We end up making things that potentially can hurt us or our organization, or we have to go later on clean up the mess we created, because we didn't really think through. We didn't really actually use wisdom in the leadership that we were supposed to provide, but we actually just made emotional decisions. And so I want you to be very careful about your style of leadership when you're in an urgent posture, and we want to avoid that. Now, let's just look a little bit of a little bit deeper at what would happen to a team when you lead from an urgent posture. And leading from an urgent posture will cause burnout. You can cause some stress to your team that is unnecessary, because they would have maybe prepared differently. They would have, responded or served you differently. But because you are the leader and you've come with this urgent request and this urgent mindset, you cause stress in other people. The stress that you have created for yourself, that may not actually even be real stress, but has been one that's been created because of your lack of leadership, has now passed on to your team, and now you've created an even bigger mess. And burnout doesn't just happen automatically, but these type of things stacked over time causes burnout, and it's a very, very dangerous place to be. You'll end up causing people to quit. You'll get them to fail or make mistakes, and that is never a good thing when we're trying to progress forward. And so we want to really think about that. We also want to realize that we don't speak with clarity. There's so much lack of clarity to our team when we are in an urgent state, because they have questions, they might have pushback, or they want to understand better, but because it's urgent, there is no time to be able to connect and to be able to have conversations about these things. So we have people just on autopilot or robotic, doing what you've said, what you've told them to do, based on this idea that it needs to get done ASAP. And that is a horrible way to lead, because that's not teamwork. That's you just telling them what to do and not even realizing that they might have some input or some reflection and some things to say that will make it better. But because it's urgent, time is not, their friend in that case. And so we don't ever want to get into a posture of just, we communicate for the sake of communicating. We don't ever connect. We don't actually connect with clarity. And we have people that are more confused than ever, and in fact just steals a lot of joy out of them, and just they don't know what they're doing except just functioning because you've asked them to. What about this idea of poor quality of work? When you are in this urgent state, you end up potentially causing poor work. This poor quality comes out in being rushed. It comes out in not understanding. It comes out in this you not knowing how to communicate with them, and treating them as people, but you're treating them as just these people that work for you and nothing else. And so poor quality comes out, but then who gets the blame for that? Because of your lack of preparation and your urgency, you end up looking at them because they were the ones executing the job. But hey, you set them up for failure. You set them up to have poor quality work, and now they have to live with those consequences. So we don't want to create an environment where we are creating poor quality workers and then poor quality results, because nobody wins in that. Nobody wins, and we just create more chaos and create and potentially more long-term damage. So really think about what your urgency might be causing. And maybe another thought, or a final thought I want to really kind of bring home, is that you really come across like a control freak, not a leader. You come across like a dictator. You come across like somebody who's just bossing people around, and you're not actually leading them. Remember, leading people involves listening, acknowledging, setting them up for success, working with them, being able to actually get this project done, this work done in a way that it's going to be effective, efficient, and that's going to be quality, right? That's going to actually set your team for success in the long term. And so we don't ever want to be in an urgent state where we just come across like, hey, you have to do this right now because I said so. That type of leadership does not work. And if it does, it will only work for a short term. And then what? You're going to have people that don't want to follow you, and then you're not going to be a leader. You're just going to be somebody that has a commanding voice, who thinks that they know it all, but yet they have nobody following them. And so I wanted to encourage you to stop. If you are in a season that's super busy, if it's one of those seasons where things have to get done, what can you do today to, just step back for a moment and let's take this urgency out of the way, and let's try to create a culture where everybody knows that, it's a little bit predictable. Yes, sometimes we gotta hustle, sometimes we gotta work hard. Things happen, and urgency might be the thing that you have to do. But if you're always leading from that perspective, if your people know that you're always that urgent leader, you're not actually leading well. And so we don't want to get in the urgency. We want to be able to say, I want to be proactive. I want to be caring. I want to be clear. I want to plan ahead. I want to be able to discuss with my team. I want to invite my team into all of this. And I want to be able to communicate in a way that I'm actually being a leader, not a dictator, and that I'm not just trying to control because I'm trying to cover up for my weaknesses or my lack of good leadership. We want to be able to lead with a forward mindset, so we're prepared, and we're not always just last second leaders, last minute leaders. Let's be better than that, because we're trying to help our team succeed. We're trying to help our organization succeed. And in return, you end up winning. So stop causing your team, stop capping your team from being a winner and from progressing. We want to progress properly. And that's why the enemy of progress is urgency. So we got to be careful of that. Let's get that under control so we can win and actually be fruitful, and we can actually do well. And so I want you to think on that. Really reflect on some of the times when you have led in that way and the other times when you haven't led in that scenario, and how well has it turned out. Be a better leader. Lead well, because we know around here it's a win-win when the leader leads well. We'll catch you in the next one.